Welcome to This Week in Cord Cutting number 5, the show where I give you my in-depth views on the world of cord cutting. Every week I pick out some of the biggest stories in cord cutting and I give you my opinion on them. This week I'm going to do a little different. Instead of talking about multiple stories, I really want to dive in on one specific, and that's the 3.0 over there TV standard. It was approved by the FCC this week, brings 4K, all kinds of other features, but there's been a lot of negative stories around it this week. And there's two things you always need to remember with negative stories. First of all, negative stories sell news. If I would write a story that says everything is good, life is great, that won't get the clicks. That story that says the world is coming to an end, everybody's going to die. You know, did you know what's happening in the back of restaurant kitchens? It may shock you. It's a lot better than, hey, guess what? We found a perfectly clean kitchen at a restaurant. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, 3.0 offers a lot of features and abilities that cable cannot match. So when you see these cable networks running negative 3.0 over their TV standards, remember they're probably scared. They're, cord cutting is growing, over there TV is growing, and that's taking a bite out of their pocket. So let's dive in here, debunk some theories on 3.0, some concerns about 3.0, look at the benefits of 3.0 and what you need to know. Before we get into that though, there was one other story this week that was pretty big. The Philo, the sports-free live TV streaming service that launched in the US. I did a video on that already and I kind of went over it in depth. I'm going to link to that down below. I don't really have a lot of additional comments on that haven't already said this week in my Q&A and in that video. So I'm going to let that speak for itself. So if you want to learn about Philo, the sports-free service, check out the show notes. But let's dive into 3.0. So I had a lot of conversations with people about 3.0, from TV manufacturers to antenna manufacturers. I even posted an interview today with the president of Antenna Direct. He went really in depth into what 3.0 means for cord cutters, and I am going to link to that down below. If you want to learn about 3.0 from somebody who makes antennas for a living and has been a great fan of cord cutting, check out that interview. It's about 30 minutes. It's really worth it. We talk about the FCC, how they got started, the move into cord cutting, and the 3.0 TV standard. It's well worth your time. Check it out down below. But let's debunk some myths here. One of the biggest things I've been hearing about is, oh no, 3.0 is going to be able to turn on your TV. That the TV companies are going to just flip a switch and everybody's TVs are going to turn on. You know what? That's kind of true, but it's not a bad thing. 3.0 includes basically weather radio built into your TV, if you enable it. With the weather radio, you can set it up that if in your county there's a severe weather alert of the types you pick, it broadcasts a signal to the weather radio so you're aware of it. Now TVs will be able to do the same thing, but even more focused. Instead of just saying your full county, the 3.0 standard is able to say this particular street, this particular neighborhood has a tornado coming to it, and if you enable it, you could get weather alerts. It works by the TV reporting its location back through the weather system back to the cable company or the TV company, and the TV company can draw on a map where they want that alert, which is great. I grew up in tornado country where, if you are like me, you're probably used to hearing severe weather alerts, checking the map and realizing, oh, that tornado is nowhere near me, not going anywhere in my direction. And, so that's great. The other part of it is it means your TV is going to be a weather radio. You don't have to go buy a weather radio out there. Remember, have batteries in it, all kinds of stuff. So that's a cool feature there. I think it's actually a great life-saving tool. Maybe I'm biased because I grew up in an area where weather is a serious concern that you often want to pay attention to. It's an opt-in feature that you have to set up, like on your phones and on your weather radio now. You'll opt into the ability to get weather alerts on your TV. This is not going to be turning on because they want you to watch the latest episode of American Idol or something. This is going to be turning on when your local station, there's a weather alert, and they want to pinpoint a specific location on the map to say, let's alert these people a tornado is coming in their direction. So keep that in mind. The other one here goes back to the targeted, the geo reporting, where if you set it up, your TV can report back and say, I'm at this specific location. That will now allow targeted ads. Now, this has been around. This is the idea, you may be used to it on a website where it targets specific ads to you, but it's also on Sling TV, YouTube TVs, and other already do specifically targeted ads at you, and that's how Sling TV and YouTube TV keeps their costs down. instead of charging as much as other services, they deliver targeted ads. They can sell a cheaper product. Now with targeted ads over the air, and you can see a different ad than somebody a few towns over. The way the Intended Direct president talked about this is, instead of seeing a car dealership ad for a car dealership few towns over, you only see the dealership ad for your town. The ad, stuff that's specific to only where you are. And he said those are only be for a few ads. They're only for the ones that the station sells. So typically during an ad break, say there's 5 ads. One of those ads will be sold by the local station. The rest will come from the national feed. So that one local station ad is the one that will be targeted. And it will help them have more over-the-air TV. So targeted ads are a reality. And with targeted ads means you get the ability to not pay for something, in this case with over-the-air TV. You gain the benefits of 4K and more I'll talk about in a minute without having to pay for it. And in my opinion, it's a great feature. If you don't want targeted ads, you don't want ads, my recommendation is to get a service like Netflix, get a service like Hulu, commercial free, etc., where there are no ads. The reality of it is, if you want 4K, you want all the bells and whistles of 3.0, it's got to be paid for somehow, and they're going to do it through targeted ads. I actually think it's a great feature. Now let's get into the benefits. One of the main things that's really kind of happened in the last few years is digital subchannels, where you're probably used to it where it's like, 4.1 is your ABC, and the 4.2 will be a Me TV and Antenna TV, etc. And you have 3 or maybe 4 digital subchannels. Now with 3.0, it does a lot better of a job managing the frequency. So you can put a lot more content in a smaller range. So instead of just stopping off at like 0.4, maybe 0.5, you can actually go like 4.99. Now there's some degradation, once you get past 50, but in theory, you can see a lot more channels. And these channels are becoming increasingly profitable, especially with the ability to offer targeted ads. So look for more stations to go over the air, more Me TVs, more Antenna TVs, maybe some cable networks going over there. We'll have to wait and see. But with 3.0, you'll be able to have a ton more sub-digital channels than you did in the past, which means more free content than ever before. The other benefit of this is better reception. According to the Intended Direct president, it may be such great reception that most people could just probably plug a wire in the back of their TV and get the stations they want. That now, one of the big complaints with the 1.0 standard when we went from analog to digital is that the reception range shrunk a little bit. Now with 3.0, it's probably going to be better range according to all early testing than it was when we had analog TV. Now with this, you're going to get a much better reception, much better quality, noticeably more channels, all included for free with that, and in 4K. The other benefit, so now that your set talks to your station, so you can actually have two-way communications, it brings a couple new features. Number one, like when you're watching news, you'll be able to actually have a little pop-up at the bottom of the screen that says, oh, would you like to, we're talking about the election, would you like to learn more or see a copy of the ballot or whatever. You click on that and it'll open a page on your TV and allow you to read or maybe view additional video on that news story. So allow you to get in depth. And you'll probably see that with ads too, pop up on those targeted ads like, hey, would you like to receive more information about this product, etc. pop up there. The other part of it is because it's two-way communication and it has so much bandwidth, according to some of my conversations, TV stations are toying with the idea of offering on-demand content supported with ads over there. So now you'll be able to watch ABC. You want to watch the ABC show you missed earlier in the day or yesterday. You can rewatch it. It'll be ad supported, and you can start it on demand because there's the two-way communication there with the new 3.0 standard. So it's a really cool system there, but it doesn't stop with TV. There's experiments right now that the 3.0, we've heard a lot about 5G internet. While the 3.0 standard, because it works kind of similar to internet, can actually be an internet service and deliver home internet speeds that will be comparable to DSL and cable to your house through your TV or through the over-the-air TV standard, I should say. So your TV would maybe be internet may be powered by the over-the-TV air signal. That's still in the experimental phase, but it's looking very promising right now, and a lot of people are getting excited about that ability. So now not only would you have, cable, DSL, maybe a fiber option in your neighborhood, 5G being an option, but now you're talking about OTA home internet as an option. So now you're talking about 10, 12, 13 different options for home internet. So these are all great new features. Now, you will need new hardware. Current TVs do not support the 3.0 standard. Your antenna does. All antennas you own now do not need to be replaced. That antenna will continue to work. What's changing is the tuner inside the TV. A few things, there are antenna companies are looking and developing boxes or dongles. They even say maybe just as a little dongle you screw in your antenna to, and then take an HDMI cable to your TV, or maybe a little box. LG is already manufacturing in South Korea 3.0 tuners. 3.0 has been in South Korea for some time now, and those LG TVs are expected to come to the United States next year. Other manufacturers are moving that way. There's a test market in Cleveland going to be using 3.0. Phoenix recently announced, I'm going to have more details on this soon, that 10 of their stations, including all the big ones, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, etc., are going to go to the 3.0 standard. Now, here's the good news. If you don't want to upgrade, you don't have to, because the FCC is requiring television stations to continue to broadcast in the 1.0 standard, the current standard, which brings HD, like you're used to it now, for 5 years after the transition. So let's say next year they make that switch. When they make that switch and offer 3.0, that's when the clock starts running in the 5-year timeline to offer the 1.0 standard. And that's part of the deal with the 10 stations in Phoenix. Basically, the deal is half of them will switch to 3.0 and simulcast, ABC may be on the same frequency with Fox, but the 1.0 standard, the Fox will move over to the ABC in the 1.0 standard, for example. So you'll still be able to access all the same TV you get now, but if you get the 3.0 device or you get a TV with 3.0 built in, you'll likely see that roll out. It does cost a little bit extra on the TV, so it may take a little while to roll out. You may see boxes and dongles being the first one. You pick up a $30 dongle or box to make that happen. But we heard that argument about 4K too, that hey, 4K costs more, TV manufacturers aren't going to want to build it in. Well, a few years later, 4K is pretty much at this point widely in most TVs, unless you get a real bargain basement TV with no 4K. Anything from the $300, $400 range is not unusual to find a 4K TV nowadays. So keep that in mind. There is a transition here. We're still looking at the earliest sometime next year for the first markets to roll out. Probably 3 to 5 years for most Americans to get the 3.0 standard. Maybe 10 years before everybody moves that way. But there's a lot of cool features here. Don't let the doom and gloom worry you. There's plenty of time to react if doom and gloom scenarios happen. There's no reason to get yourself worked up about it now without waiting to play it out and see what happens. I firmly believe 3.0 is good for cord cutting. It brings 4K, it brings new features, it brings better reception, which for many Americans is an issue. Even if you get most of your stations, it's not unusual not to get 1 or 2 of them. And now that will probably become a thing of the past for most Americans. So 3.0 is a great deal. The other thing that I wanted to throw out there is the fact that the DirecTV Now has a new deal. Looking forward for Black Friday, everything starting today when I'm recording this. If you prepay for 4 months of DirecTV Now, so $140, not only do you get DirecTV Now for 4 months, you get an Apple TV 4K. Typically, Apple TV 4K is $170, but for $140, you can get an Apple TV 4K, 32 gigabyte, 4 months of DirecTV Now, all included for that price. That's a great deal. So check that out. But hey, I love your feedback on the show. We're still developing the show, experimenting, doing different things with This Week in Cord Cutting, or this week, cord cutting this week, I should say. But I want to thank you to everybody who's been watching, giving feedback. Our early response has been extremely positive, and we're going to continue to develop this show and develop Cord Cutters News in general to offer the best possible cord cutting coverage out there. And part of that is going to be days like this where I just say, hey, let's just take a breath. Let's not freak out about the 3.0 standard, because I honestly think it's a good thing. Questions, comments, let me know. Otherwise, join us every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern for our weekly cord cutting Q&A show. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I appreciate your support.